Dalton, next one we're talking about is Iowa at number 3, Ohio State, which is a 3:30 p.m. Eastern time game on CBS. And the storyline to know, this is Ohio State's first test of the entire season. Dalton, we are in week 6 now of our preview shows. We have not talked about Ohio State once in our previews because their toughest opponent that Ohio State has played all year is Michigan State, who is number 75 in PFF's power rankings right now. Iowa is about a top 30 team in college football. So this will be the first major test for the Buckeyes before obviously their biggest test, maybe the whole season next week against Oregon in Eugene. But this is a kind of a good warm-up game for Ohio State. Not even a warm-up game because Iowa is a really good team as well. But I think this is a really interesting game, and this is the first time we're talking about Ohio State all year. It's actually fun to finally be talking about a top 3 team in the country.
Yeah, and to be talking about a game that they're playing against a team that actually stands a chance, right? And Iowa, to me, I know they lost to Iowa State, and that was a tight game, and they lost on a long field goal. But Iowa looks better than they did last year, I think. Who knows if they'll win more games? It's a little bit, they're not playing the true Big Ten West schedule anymore and all of that. But offensively, they look better. Defensively, they're always great because that's what they do. And to see Ohio State, I think especially to see Will Howard against this defense, right? We have the quarterback question still with Ohio State, and he hasn't played elite football yet. He's been good enough. It's kind of same old Will Howard where you put him in play action, and yeah, you get him playing good enough, and he's got freaks at receiver to work with for sure. But I think this is the moment where I go, okay, now we get to see the full playbook, the full offense, and not that they didn't use it against Michigan State last week, but going into the game, it's kind of why we didn't preview it. We didn't think Michigan State had much of a chance in that game, right? And I know Michigan State's improving, but this is a different level of football. I do think it's a level of football that Iowa can compete with, so we're going to have a lot of fun watching this one.
So, Dawn, you have the Iowa offense in this one, who actually has been looking better than we've seen from Iowa offense in the past, and really pretty much because of one player, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, it is a better team effort, and one guy being this good makes your entire offense better. But, man, Kaleb Johnson, how good has he been in this Iowa backfield? And, look, Iowa's scored at least 30 points in 3 of their first 4 games. They did it once all of last year. I believe that was against Western Michigan. Somebody lower. So. Yeah. But Kaleb Johnson, this is a stud at running back that they have. He's big, he's blazing fast, he runs through contact. Look, he's the leading rusher in the Power 5 right now. The only guy in the country with more yards than him is Ashton Jeanty, and we know what Ashton Jeanty's doing, right?
Yeah.
89 rushing grade, 8.4 yards per carry, 30 missed tackles through his first 4 games. I mean, he's a real problem. You watch their offense, and under Tim Lester, their new offensive coordinator, they've gone to more of this kind of mid-zone, outside zone run game that's a little more. He spent a year with Green Bay and Matt LaFleur up there, and I think he might have taken something from LaFleur and Green Bay with this outside zone scheme, because if Kaleb Johnson hits the hole and gets north and south, he's a real problem. This is a real player with real speed that I don't think Iowa fans are necessarily used to. PFF gas scores, right? Our game athleticism scores that we haven't talked about in a while, but sometimes we like to reference those. He's sitting at a 98.5.
Wow.
This is a blazer at tailback.
Basically, just so people know, that's basically your percentile of your in-game athleticism against other players at your position. So right now he's like a 98th percentile athlete is what we're saying on running.
Yeah, I mean this Kaleb Johnson he's a real problem. He's problem number 1 when you're talking about Iowa, and they're run blocking a lot better this year because the scheme is simpler. They've gone to a simpler outside zone scheme. He's getting north and south, and even when he makes cutbacks, he gets in the open field. The speed is real, but he runs through contact as well. He's got everything you could want in a back. He's very quietly played like one of the best backs in the country so far, and it's going to be a real test if this gets to be a slow-paced, running the ball kind of game. Johnson can carry the load. I mean, against Minnesota, when they beat Minnesota, was it last week or the week before? He goes on air afterwards on an interview with NBC after, and he goes, "Look, I had to put the team on my back, and I won."
Hell yeah.
And that's just great. And look, Cade McNamara is at least functional back there, healthy. Luke Lachey is a good tight end. We got receiver. We got Reese Vanderzee, another true freshman receiver. But it's all centered around Kaleb Johnson. And then Ohio State's got players to match it, though, right? Tyleik Williams is supposed to be back in the middle this week from injury. Jack Sawyer's a great run defender. Lathan Ransom at safety, highest graded run D safety in the country right now. And Ohio State is 5th as a team in run D grade. Again, they haven't played anybody great, but their defense has been as advertised so far. All those guys, plus Caleb Downs.
That's
plus
not
Denzel.
fake. No, Ohio State's defense is legit. We know that.
Ohio State's defense is fantastic. They have so much. They have NFL talent left and right on their defense. But Kaleb Johnson's going to be problem number 1. And if he were to go for something, again, like if he were to carry the load for 150, 200 yards in this game, we've got a ball game.
Absolutely. And on the other side, too, you have 2 star running backs in Quinshon Judkins and TreVeyon Henderson. But Dalton, the matchup I'm looking forward to seeing is Ohio State's weapons against Iowa's secondary. Stop me if you've heard this before. Ohio State has star receivers. Every single year we say this about Ohio State. Right now, the Buckeyes are one of only 2 schools in the country with multiple wide receivers who are among the top 15 in receiving grade this year in Emeka Egbuka and Jeremiah Smith. Egbuka, obviously the veteran as a senior, 9th in the country with an 85.1 receiving grade this year. 240 yards after the catch, 6th in America as well. He's gotten a lot better after the catch this year than he was in the past. And then, of course, Jeremiah Smith. He's a phenom, man. What he's been doing this year is unbelievable. Leads all true freshmen with an 84.1 receiving grade, 17 receiving first downs or touchdowns, 8 more than any other true freshman. He was a number 1 recruit coming out of high school, and he's living up to that hype right now. He looks unbelievable as a true freshman. But they might not be able to run wild against Iowa. Iowa entered the year with my number 2 secondary in the country, and nothing this year has changed my thoughts on them. Right now, they're 6th in coverage grade this year at a 91.5, and in particular, Jamari Harris leads all corners in the nation with a 90.5 coverage grade this year. And Dawn, he has 8 combined pass breakups and interceptions. He's only allowed 5 catches. He has 3 more plays on the football than he's allowed catches this year. Jamari Harris, I know they lost Cooper DeJean. That was a huge loss. But Jamari Harris is the next lockdown corner at Iowa right now. So, again, Ohio State's receivers have looked unbelievable so far this year. But they haven't played the best competition. And now you're going against an elite secondary in Iowa. I do think the receivers will do well. But the question is, like you said before, Will Howard. Can Will Howard in tight windows make those throws? That's the question I'm really looking forward to seeing, and I'm seeing answered in this game. And I think this is the best matchup maybe of the entire weekend.
I think you said it right with Jamari Harris outside at corner. He's a spectacular player. You still have Sebastian Castro in the slot. You got 2 really good safeties. You got 2 really good linebackers.
And Egbuka plays in the slot a lot too, so you'll probably see a lot of Castro.
If we get Castro versus Egbuka, you get Harris versus Smith. I mean, there's a lot of fun matchups in this game.
And Nwankpa back there, yeah.
And I think you're right. If we do get in a spot where this is run versus run, now we need to find out, okay, this is how good Quinshon Judkins and TreVeyon Henderson are, too. I think Ohio State's still going to benefit from having balance, but there's a lot of ways this game could go. And again, I think if Iowa's secondary can keep them in it and stop those 2 freaks, especially on the outside, from just teeing off on them like they have the last few weeks, Egbuka, I'll tell you what, Emeka Egbuka looks 100% too.
Yeah.
I don't think the last couple weeks what I've seen from him, I don't think he looked like that at any point last year.
He's a first round pick again.
Yeah, he sure looks like it. To have those 2 guys, that doesn't seem fair sometimes.
Definitely. So, Dalton, in Ohio State's first real test of the season, will they pass it, or will Iowa pull off a massive upset?
I think they'll pass it. But I don't like this game at the 19 or 20 point spread that it's at. I really don't. I think, look, we haven't seen Will Howard play elite football yet. He's had 3 games with his passing grade. 3 of his 4 games, his passing grade's under 70. He's playing good enough. It's kind of same old Will Howard. He's good on play action. I think one thing that benefits him in this game is that Iowa doesn't blitz hardly at all. They send 4 and they sit in quarters and they do what they do on defense. It's very predictable on defense. Just very good at it, right? I think this game does come down to just the 2 running games. And I think, are we going to see enough big plays from Judkins and Henderson, or does Kaleb Johnson take this game over and Iowa control the ball, and we get into a situation where now we got a trench game, now we got a running game, and we got a defensive game, a low-scoring one. They really need to slow down the pace of this game, Iowa. If they get ahead, I think this gets very dangerous for Ohio State. I think it is a test, but I've got Ohio State 24-16. I do not like this as a 20-point spread. I don't think Iowa loses by 20 plus in this game.
I do think they will lose by 20 plus in this game. I got Ohio State win this one 33-13. I have exactly what the spread is actually. I think the defense will make it interesting early, but Iowa's run D has been good this year, but I think Quinshon Judkins and TreVeyon Henderson can play well against them. And then once you do that, Then if they start, creeping up in the box a little bit, you got Jeremiah Smith and Emeka Egbuka and all those other weapons they got there as well. And really the big thing why I like Ohio State big in this one is I just don't think Iowa's offense will be able to score enough. Honestly, I think they're going to be held under 20 points. I'd be surprised if they get over 20 points in this game. And if that happens, I think Ohio State will score probably at least 30 points, and then we'll see what happens from there. So I got Ohio State winning this one 33-13, just because I think their defense, if they really just key in on Kaleb Johnson, Iowa's really going to be struggling probably offensively. So Ohio State, we both have winning that one. Next